Section 4.8, we're going to do a little bit of work with parabolas, and it comes about after extensive market research by the part of the author. Now, if you actually read this carefully, it says extensive market research that I totally made up, which, I don't know, kind of like the subtle humor in here every now and then. But it's going to give you a couple figures here. One of them is the price. Consumers in one market will buy X units per week if the price is P, and they give you this equation here. So there's your price. Recall that revenue is price times units sold. Write an equation that represents the revenue that the company will make from, so many units. So, all right, so our revenue equals the price times units sold. Okay, looks good. Page 561, thank you. And let's see. As far as our units sold is concerned, that's going to be our X. And then we've got our price over here. So units sold, that's going to be our X. Price, that's going to be over here. Let's see if we can't put those two things together and then simplify our answer. So that's going to be price, which is negative 0.27x plus 61 times units sold, which is X. Now that's one way to write it, but they ask you to simplify your answer. Can anyone think of a way I could simplify this or write it a little bit differently? Maybe if I wanted to write it without the parentheses. How could I do that? What would I have to do? Yeah, distribute the X. So let's distribute the X. That's going to be minus 0.27. What's X times X? What can I write here? X squared plus what? 61x. Thank you, Bryn. Nice. So that's your revenue function. So R of X. They also give you a cost function. Cost of manufacturing is this. So cost of manufacture of that much dollars to make X units. Write an equation describing the profit. Well, how do you calculate the profit? Profit. Is it just your revenue? Is that all that goes into your profit? Thank you. Revenue minus the cost. Okay. And now we have a couple equations for that. So we've got our cost here. You've got your revenue here. So let's put those two things together. So that's going to be negative 0.27x squared plus 61x minus negative 0.12x squared plus 14x plus 570. That's your cost. Wow, that looks like kind of a big mess. So let's see. Is there a way that we can kind of clean this up a little bit? Well, it does ask you to maybe simplify your answer. The simpler your answer would be, the better it'll be for the next couple of questions. So let's try and make our work easier for the next few questions. How can I clean this up a little bit? Any suggestions? Yeah, combine like terms. Before we do that, notice I took care to put this in parentheses. I'm subtracting the whole thing. If I want to get rid of the parentheses, I've got to distribute that negative to all three terms. So that negative has to multiply this, this, and that. So you're going to distribute. And let's see, distribute. So I need to write smaller so I can fit everything in here. So when I distribute, that's going to give me negative 0.27x squared plus 61x. What happens when I multiply a negative times a negative? Positive. So it's going to be plus 0.12x squared minus 14x minus 570. So, okay, a lot going on there. But it does leave me with some like terms that I can combine. What would be the like terms in this particular case? I don't see anything that looks like I could combine them. All right, the x squared terms, we can combine those. Good. I'm trying to find a different color pen here because I'm running out of colors. So the x squared terms, I can combine those. Is there anything else I can combine? Yeah. Determine x. No, that one's not working. No, not much from that one either. All right, we'll do it this way. Put a little kind of a tilde underneath here. The terms in x. So negative 0.27 and negative 1.2 or positive 1.2. If you're looking at that going, I don't know, I don't like arithmetic, that's fine. Take out your calculator. I'd rather see you get it right than be too proud to take out your calculator. You can type in negative 0.27 plus 0.12. It should give you negative 0.15. There you go. So negative 0.15. But keep in mind that that's x squared. So negative 0.15 x squared plus. Let's work on the middle terms. Here, this one's a little bit easier. 61 minus 14 is going to be 47. X minus 570. So that's our term for our profit function. That's your, we'll call it P of X. Maybe I shouldn't call it P of X because they've already used P someplace. They used P for price. All right, my bad. But this is our function. Maybe we call it M of X, how much money we're going to make. Whatever you want to call it. But the function that you're going to work with is 0.15 x squared plus 47x minus 570. So if you made 10 grills, what would your profit be? Now here's where it's nice to let something else do your work for you. Now most of you have a graphing calculator around, so let me start with the graphing calculator and show you how to do that first. So the first thing you want to do is you want to hit the y equals key. You can keep track of what I press by looking at the key history down at the bottom. Hit the y equals key. If there's anything there, just hit the clear button over here, clear it out. I want to type in negative 0.15. So type in the negative. You don't necessarily need the 0. I like to put it there because it makes it a little bit clearer that I've got a decimal. Use the opposite key on the bottom row of your calculator, not the subtraction key, to enter in a negative 0.15. Otherwise your calculator is going to give you an error message. X squared plus 47x minus 570. Enter. Now the calculators in my class are probably already set up to do this the right way, but because you might not, or maybe you're watching this at home and you've forgotten, let me show you how to set things up nicely so that you can get table values out of your function. Hit the second key and then the window key. You want to make sure that the line that says independent is set to ask. If it's not, just go down there, cursor over it, and press the enter key. Independent set to ask, dependent is set to auto. With those two little tweaks, we're good to go. Hit the second key, then the table key. Now I've got some values there already for myself, so let me just delete those. There's a delete key up on the top row. And it asks us to find the profit when 10 grills were sold that week. Now, we spent a lot of time putting this function in, but there's good news for it. We can use that a couple other times. If you only had to do this once, you could put in 100 here, you know, and then square it, and then multiply this, and then multiply that by, you know, 100 or 10 or whatever it is, and then subtract 570. You can do it by hand. But if you have to do more than one of these, it's nice just to put in the number like 10. So press 10 here, and bam, it gives you negative 115. Bless you. So at x equal 10, the profit equals negative 115. What do you think that profit of negative 115 means? What's the actual interpretation of that in terms of this problem? Yeah, cost was more than the revenue, all right? We didn't make enough money there. You lost money. Nice. Thank you, Emma. You lost money. Okay. Nice. Now, here's where we get the payoff for the work that we did to put that into our calculator. We need to evaluate this at x equal 100 and x equal 250. So at x equal 100 and at x equal 250. So let's plug those numbers in and see what we get. Here's the cool thing. X equal 100. Just type in that number. Oh. It gets it out. Pretty cool. We want an x equal 250? No problem. Just type in a 250. And notice that we made less. Even though we made more or sold more, we made less. So that's kind of troubling. But the money we made was $2,630 when we sold 100 units and $1,805 when we sold 250 units. So we kind of took a little bit of a haircut selling those extra units. We made less money even though we produced and sold more goods. Okay, are we all right here? Now suppose you're at home and you're like, oh, now what do? I don't have that fancy graphing calculator. Not a problem. Go to Desmos. And if you want to sign up for an account, they're free. They never, ever email you. It's just great. So you can actually type in our function, type in f parenthesis of x equals, and then type in the function negative 0.15 x. You can get the squared key by hitting the Shift 6 key, or if you pull this up, it gives you a little pad that you can type in things. Negative 0.15x squared plus 47x minus 570. So something like that. And then if I wanted to find, say, f of 10, there you go. There's your f of 10. I can go and find f of 100. And after I found f of 100, maybe I'm like, you know, I need f of 250 now. Just type in the 250. So there's a nice easy way to get those numbers at home without really having to stress too much. So is one of those going to work for you someplace? All right. Let's keep going. Use a calculator or computer program to graph the profit equation you made. Use it to estimate the number of grills they'll actually need to sell to make the largest profit. Okay. Well, since I passed out a bunch of graphing calculators, let's do it here first. If I want to graph this, before I hit the graph key, I need to decide how many of these things I need to sell. And I don't know what that number is going to be. So let's just adjust the window key. I do want to notice one thing here for us. Somewhere between 100 and 250, we kind of hit a maximum and started coming down because our profit here is less than it was when we sold 100. So as far as a window is concerned, let me take a guess that we're going to want to sell between, 0 and let's try 400 units to start with. The X scale stuff, let's just put a 100 there for now. I'll explain that when we see our graph. So that's where we're going to graph things on the x-axis. That's what we're going to see. How do you set up your y-axis? Well, I don't know. So what we'll do on the y-axis is let the calculator figure that out. And to let the calculator figure that out, you're going to hit zoom and then the number 0. Zoom 0 does what's called a zoom and fit. It's going to fit your window to the graph that you have there. There you go. Now, the the tick marks here. Remember back when I was setting this up, I said, well, I'll tell you what that X scale is. X scale, that's where the tick marks are. So it's at 100, 200, 300. What seems to happen at 300? Crosses the x-axis, which means that, well, you're no longer making money. Where does it look like you make the most money? I mean, if you had to guess, and you've got these 2 points as guides between 100 and 200, I don't know, 165 maybe, 170, somewhere in there. Okay. Now, this gets you a little easier if you do it on Desmos. So I've already got the function plugged in here. You could do a table. Yeah, a table function would work there. That's kind of cool. But there's something on Desmos that makes it really desperately easy. Let's graph y equals f of x. Or you could just type in y equals this. Doesn't matter. Now I'm going to zoom out until I see more of my graph. And I'm going to kind of zoom in until it starts looking like a parabola. There you go. So it looks like our maximum profit is somewhere around 160, but the cool thing you can do on Desmos is just click it, and it'll find that point for you. So there you go. 156.66. So round it to what? 157? So about 157. That's not too bad. I think one of our guesses was about 160. That was our guess. We actually did it, found out it was a little bit less. What's the largest profit they can make from the, let's see. That's $3,111 and, let's see. We should probably try a couple things. F of 156 and F of 157. Why am I trying both of these two? Why can't I just answer 156 and 2/3? Yeah, you can't make 2/3 of a grill. Thank you both. So I tried both those numbers on either side. Which one makes us the most profit? Yeah, 157. So at x equals 157 grills sold, profit's going to be $3,111.65. Nice. Okay, so let's see. They ask us a little follow-up question here. At what price should they set to make this happen? How should we set our prices to make that equal to 1,000, or excuse me, 157? So let's see. Profit. That's a good question here. Let's see here. X units. So if I put in 157 in here, that's the price that I should set things at. So P of X, or P, equals negative 0.27x plus 61. If I plug in that 157 in here, then I get negative 0.27 times 157 plus 61. Anyone got that for me? Let's just do it on a calculator real quick. So $103.39 is what I'm getting. Nice. Couple more questions. Suppose that 1 month the company runs a promotion where they send a rebate of the full purchase price to 4 randomly selected customers. To find the revenue equation, you multiplied X by the number of units. So that was here, number of units times the price. So we just took X times this. But it's going to be a little bit different here. To find the revenue equation, multiply the X. What formula would you need to find the price in this case? Or, excuse me, multiply X by price. So if I want to find the revenue equation for this one, revenue, it's still going to be price times the number of units sold. And the price was negative 0.27x plus 61. But I'm not selling X units anymore. What happens first? You give away 4, right? We're giving away 4. So it's going to be X minus 4 is what I'm going to have here. I'm giving away those 4 units. So now that's my new revenue function. So now we need to multiply these things together. How are we going to multiply these two binomials together? Let me write it down over here. X minus 4. And I'm sorry, I'm transposing these things. It'll work out the same. How am I going to multiply these things together? What do I have to do? Ah, nice. You're going to have to distribute. So the X is going to have to multiply both of these terms here. Here and here. The same thing is going to happen with a minus 4 and these terms. Okay. So it's going to be X times negative 0.027. Layla, why don't you help me out with the first one? What's that going to give me? Layla R. I like that both of you looked though. That's cool. Thank you. It was cute. All right, Layla R. What's the first product going to give me? Yeah, negative X, negative 0.27 X squared. Good. Layla S. You get the outside terms. Good. Let's keep going. Jalen, how about the next terms? What do I have to do here? Yeah. So a negative 4 times a negative 0.27. That's all right. You can take out your calculators to do these things. Just make sure, well, let's do this. Let's make our life a little bit easier in terms of doing this. What sign term should I get when I multiply these two things together? Positive. A negative times a negative is positive. So rather than putting in both negatives, just realize that you expect a positive term and cut to the chase and type in, 4 times, 0.27. That should give you 1.08. But it's not just 1.08, it's 1.08x. And the last term is negative 4 times 61. Is that going to give me a positive term or a negative term? Negative. So it's going to be negative 244. Are there any like terms that I can combine here? Yeah, the 1.08 and the 61, so negative 0.27 x squared plus 62.08 x minus 244. Okay. Find the new profit equation using your revenue equation and your original cost. So that's going to be going back to our cost equation, which was right here. And we're going to have to take our new profit equation and subtract that new revenue equation, or the old cost equation. So revenue minus the cost equation. Our new revenue equation, negative 0. Now let me write this. Minus or equals profit equals revenue minus cost. And our revenue equation is going to be negative 0.27x squared plus 62.08x minus 244 minus the cost function, which was negative 0.12x squared. And I got to flip this over here, sorry. 14x plus 570. So there's a lot going on here. And I'm going to pull my trick from earlier, start writing a little bit smaller. Negative 0.27x squared plus 62.08x minus 244. And let's distribute that negative to all three terms. Plus 0.12x squared minus 14x minus 570 equals negative 0.27 and positive 0.12 giving me negative 0.15x squared. Like terms here. Let's see. It's going to be a little different than the last one. So it's going to be what? 58 or 48.08? I think that's going to be right. 62.08 minus 14. Yeah, 48.8. 48.08, I should say. X minus your 570. What's that? Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Thank you. So 570 and 244, they give me 814. So I forgot. We got new like terms, or we got another like term. Minus 844. Yeah, I forgot. We got like terms here and here. minus 240.
Isn't it 814?
814? I'm sorry, I misspoke. 814. Thank you.
Was it 844?
Yeah, no.
I thought I did something wrong. Wait a minute.
Let's take a look at this graphically speaking first on Desmos, and then I can talk about graphing it on the graphing calculator as well. So on Desmos, I'm going to add to my graph y equals negative 0.15 x squared plus 48.08 x minus 814.
So it's under, then it crosses and it becomes more.
Let's see here.
So the blue
I expected something a little bit different. It does shift things, but what happens to our maximum profit? Can we make as much as we did before? No. So the largest profit that the company can make now is $3,038 and some change. So 3038.81. So that's our new maximum profit. The old maximum profit was 3111.16. So yeah, we're down, down $70 or so, $73 ish from what it was. Is the new max profit, which is down from the 3111.65 from before. Whew. Okay, nice. So quite a lot there, and it got us into working with some quadratic functions. If you're curious how to graph these things on a, I guess we did graph one of these on a graphing calculator already. Yeah, we could plug in the other one as well. Negative 0.15 x squared plus 48.08 x minus 814. The nice thing about the graphing calculator is you'll see both of these at the same time in different colors. You can adjust those colors if you needed to. And you see they're pretty close, but the red line's a little bit below the blue line, meaning you're not making as much money. You could change the window a little bit if you wanted to. Maybe we don't need to graph all the negative numbers. You can go down to maybe negative 1,000 or something like that. And now your graph should be zoomed in a little bit more. You can see a little bit more detail there, that there is a difference between those two. Okay, anything on 4.8 here? Because it's going to be your turn next. Yes?
How do you see the table again?
So to get to the table, you hit the second key, then the graph key. If you take a look above the word graph on your calculator here, you'll see table. But that's in blue. To get to the blue part of this, you're going to hit the blue key here, which is second. If I wanted to get to the green part, then I'd hit the green key here, alpha. So yeah, that's how you work those. But yeah, hopefully you have your table settings correct, and then you can just type in any value that you need. In fact, I think Cora, you said that you estimated the maximum profit earlier just by playing around with a table. So, or somebody did. Somebody up here.
I didn't say
Maybe.
estimate, I just said I
You
used
found it?
Desmos calculate.
Oh, you used
I'm
Desmos?
able to
Okay.
use the thingy.
Well, I mean, one way you could estimate the maximum profit here would be to try and do a bunch of different numbers, like 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, So somewhere between 160 and 170, what happened to the profit? The profit started going down. So yeah, and then you start narrowing down. Say, well, maybe 165. And then you can keep on playing around and get it as precise as you need. So that'd be another way to try and find the maximum. Our goal is not in this. Our goal in this class is not necessarily to find these points analytically by solving things or anything like that. Our goal is just to find them, or at least get close. And there's a couple ways you can get close there. Okay, let's stop things here.